Dr. Elena was tired, really tired. She had been working on her computer for 6 hours straight, trying to finish a research report about strange bacteria found in deep ocean water. Her coffee cup was empty, her back hurt, and rain was hitting her window so hard it sounded like tiny rocks. She lived alone in a small house on Maple Street. It was quiet there, which she liked. No loud neighbors, no traffic noise. Just her books, and her work. Elena studied life forms that most people had never heard of. Tiny creatures that lived in places where nothing should be able to survive. The clock on her desk showed 11:30 p.m. She should go to bed, but this report was due tomorrow. She rubbed her eyes and reached for her empty coffee cup, planning to make another pot. That's when she heard it, a sound from outside. Not like anything she had heard before. It wasn't the rain or wind. It sounded almost like singing, but not quite. More like a gentle humming mixed with something that made her skin tingle. Elena got up and walked to her back door. She pressed her ear against the glass. The sound was definitely coming from her backyard. Part of her brain said to ignore it, go back to work, drink more coffee. But another part, the scientist part, was too curious. She grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer and stepped outside. The rain soaked through her sweater, immediately making her shiver. The yard was dark except for the small circle of light from her flashlight. She walked slowly toward her garden shed, following the strange sound. Then she saw something that made her stop breathing for a moment. A person was lying on the ground near her tomato plants. But as Elena got closer, she realized this wasn't exactly a person. The figure glowed softly in the darkness like moonlight was coming from inside their skin. Even lying still in the mud and rain, they looked more beautiful than anyone Elena had ever seen. The being opened their eyes as Elena approached. Those eyes were like looking into deep water with sunlight dancing on the surface. Colors shifted and changed as Elena watched, mesmerized. "Please," the stranger said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "I mean no harm to you or your dwelling place." Elena's flashlight shook in her hand. This couldn't be real. Maybe she had fallen asleep at her desk and was dreaming. But the rain on her face felt real. The mud under her feet felt real. And those beautiful, strange eyes looking up at her definitely felt real. Are you hurt?" Elena managed to ask. The being tried to sit up but winced and lay back down. "My vessel encountered difficulties during atmospheric entry. I chose your location because I sensed no danger from the mind within this structure." Elena's scientist brain kicked in. Whatever this was, whoever this was, they needed help. She could figure out the impossible parts later. "Can you walk? We need to get you inside before you freeze out here." With Elena's help, the stranger stood up. They were tall and moved like a dancer, even while injured. Elena noticed their clothes looked like they were made of fabric that changed color with each step shifting from deep blue to silver to soft green. Inside the house, Elena grabbed towels and helped dry off her unexpected guest. In the warm light of her living room, the being's beauty was even more striking. Their skin had a soft glow and their long hair seemed to move on its own, like it was underwater. "I am called Lyra," the stranger said, sitting carefully on Elena's couch. "I come from a place very far from here, so far that your people do not yet know it exists." "You're an alien," Elena said. It wasn't a question. "That is your word, yes. To me, you are the alien. But I prefer to think we are both simply beings trying to understand each other." Elena sat down across from Lyra, her mind racing. This should be terrifying. She should be calling someone, the police, the military, somebody. But looking at Lyra, all she felt was curiosity and something that surprised her, a desire to help. "Why did you come here?" "To Earth, I mean." Lyra's expression grew sad. "My people wanted to learn about your kind before making contact. We have watched from afar for many years, but my ship was damaged by what you call a solar storm. I am stranded here until they can find me. How long will that take?" "I do not know. Perhaps weeks, perhaps months." Elena noticed that Lyra kept looking around nervously like she was scared of something. "What's wrong? Are you afraid I'll hurt you?" "No," Lyra said softly. "I can sense your heart. You have sadness in you, but no cruelty. I am afraid of being alone. My people, we do not do well in solitude. It is painful for us in ways your language cannot describe." As if to prove her point, Lyra's glow began to dim and she wrapped her arms around herself. "You don't have to be alone," Elena heard herself saying. "You can stay here, at least until your people find you." Lyra looked at her with surprise and something that might have been hope. "You would do this? Allow a stranger from the stars to remain in your home?" "My mom always said that kindness cost nothing but means everything," Elena replied, surprising herself by mentioning her mother, who had died just 3 months ago. "Besides, I'm a scientist. Do you know how amazing this is? First contact with an alien species and she ends up in my backyard." For the first time, Lyra smiled. When she did, her whole face lit up like sunrise. "You are very different from what we expected humans to be." "What did you expect? More fear, more violence, more closed minds." Elena made up the guest bed and showed Lyra where everything was, the bathroom, the kitchen, how to work the TV remote. But as bedtime approached, she noticed Lyra becoming more anxious. "Is something wrong?" Elena asked. Lyra looked embarrassed. "This is difficult to explain. My people, we rest together. Always. The idea of sleeping alone is like asking you to stop breathing. I know it is strange, but..." She looked at Elena with those color-changing eyes. "May I sleep beside you tonight, human? I do not mean anything improper. I simply cannot bear the darkness alone." Elena thought about it. This was crazy. Absolutely crazy. She was about to share her bed with an alien. But looking at Lyra's face, seeing real fear there, she couldn't say no. "Okay," she said, "but just sleeping, and you can call me Elena, not human." "Elena," Lyra repeated like she was tasting the name. "It is beautiful. Like morning light." That night, Elena lay in her bed next to a being from another world. Lyra's soft glow provided a gentle nightlight, and Elena found the alien's presence oddly comforting. For the first time since her mother's death, she didn't feel completely alone in the dark. Just before she fell asleep, Elena realized her life had just changed forever. And surprisingly, she was okay with that. Elena woke up the next morning to the smell of something wonderful cooking in her kitchen. For a moment, she forgot about everything that had happened the night before. Then she remembered. There was an alien in her house. She found Lyra standing at the stove, somehow making eggs that looked perfectly golden and toast that smelled like heaven. The alien was wearing one of Elena's old college sweatshirts and her hair was tied back with a rubber band. In the morning light, she looked almost human. Almost. "Good morning, Elena," Lyra said with a smile. "I hope you do not mind. I found these ingredients and thought you might be hungry." "How did you know how to cook human food?" Elena asked, sitting down at her small kitchen table. "I watched you last night when you made tea. Your species is very interesting. You have so many small rituals around food and comfort." Lyra placed a plate in front of Elena. "Also, I can sense what brings you pleasure. These foods make you happy." Elena took a bite, and her eyes widened. It was the best breakfast she had ever tasted. "This is incredible. What did you do to it?" "Nothing special. I simply prepared it with care and good intentions. My people believe that emotions become part of the food when we cook." Elena called in sick to work that day. She couldn't exactly tell her boss that she needed to stay home with an alien visitor. Instead, she spent the day learning about Lyra and her people. The Asthari, as Lyra called them, lived on a world so far away that humans hadn't even discovered the star it orbited. Their society was nothing like Earth's. They didn't have money or own private property. Everything belonged to everyone, and decisions were made by feeling rather than thinking. "We share everything," Lyra explained as they sat in Elena's living room. "Emotions, thoughts, dreams. When one of us feels pain, we all feel it a little. When one of us is happy, that happiness spreads to others." "That sounds beautiful," Elena said. but also exhausting. Sometimes, yes. That is why I volunteered for this mission. I wanted to experience what it felt like to be individual, like you humans are. And how does it feel? Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Lonely, she finally said. But also, free. When I am happy here, it is my happiness, alone. When I am sad, I do not burden others with my pain. Elena understood loneliness. Since her mom died, she had been carrying her grief alone, not wanting to burden her friends with her sadness. Maybe that's why she felt so connected to Lyra. Over the next few days, they fell into a routine. Elena would work from home, typing, on her laptop while Lyra explored human culture through books and movies. The alien was fascinated by everything: how humans told stories, how they created art, how they fell in love. "Your people are so strange," Lyra said one evening as they watched an old romantic movie. "You choose one person to love above all others. For us, love is like sunlight. It touches everyone equally." "Don't you ever want something that's just yours?" Elena asked. Lyra looked at her with those shifting, beautiful eyes. "I am beginning to understand that feeling." What surprised Elena most was how much Lyra helped her without even trying. The alien seemed to sense Elena's emotions and always knew exactly what to say or do. When Elena felt sad about her mother, Lyra would make her favorite tea. When Elena was stressed about work, Lyra would put on music that somehow made everything feel better. "How do you always know what I need?" Elena asked one afternoon. "Your emotions have colors," Lyra explained. "Sadness is like blue rain. Happiness is like golden sunlight. Stress looks like red lightning. I can see them around you, and I know how to help." "What do you see around me right now?" Lyra tilted her head, studying Elena's face. "Green, like spring grass." "It is contentment, I think. You are at peace." Elena realized she was at peace. For the first time since her mother's death, she felt calm. Not happy exactly, but not drowning in grief either. Just okay. But every night brought the same question. "May I sleep beside you tonight, human?" Lyra would ask. And every night Elena would say yes. It had become their ritual, their way of taking care of each other. Elena began to understand that Lyra's need for companionship wasn't just alien biology. It was something deeper. The alien had never experienced true loneliness before coming to Earth, and it frightened her. But Elena's presence, her willingness to share her space and her kindness made Lyra feel safe. "My ship sent out a distress signal," Lyra told Elena one evening. "My people will find me eventually. They are very good at searching." "How long do we have?" Elena asked, surprised by the sadness in her own voice. "I do not know. Weeks, perhaps. Maybe longer if they are searching other star systems first." Elena found herself hoping it would be longer. Much longer. She had grown used to Lyra's presence, to the gentle glow in the darkness, to having someone who understood her emotions without judgment. "What will happen when they find you?" Elena asked. "I will return home. I will share what I have learned about humanity with my people." "And what have you learned?" Lyra smiled sadly. "That loneliness can be beautiful too. That choosing to care for someone makes that caring more precious. That humans are much more wonderful than we thought." "Will you tell them about me?" "Every day," Lyra said softly. "I will tell them about the human who showed kindness to a stranger from the stars, who shared her home and her heart with someone she had every reason to fear." That night, as they lay in the dark together, Elena felt something she hadn't expected. She was falling in love. Not just with Lyra's beauty or her alien nature, but with her gentleness, her curiosity, her way of seeing the world as something full of wonder instead of danger. "Lyra," Elena whispered into the darkness. "Yes? When your people come for you, will you want to go?" There was a long silence. Then Lyra's voice, soft and uncertain. "I do not know. For the first time in my life, I do not know what I want. Elena closed her eyes and listened to the gentle sound of Lyra breathing beside her. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new questions, new fears. But tonight they were together, and that felt like everything. A week had passed since Lyra crashed into Elena's life, and everything had changed. Elena's small house felt warmer now, filled with soft laughter and the gentle glow of alien presence. She had to return to work, but leaving Lyra alone made her stomach twist with worry. "I'll be fine," Lyra assured her that first Monday morning. "I have your books to read and your music to listen to. Time moves differently when you have beautiful things to discover." Elena gave Lyra her phone number and showed her how to text, if she needed anything. "Don't answer the door for anyone," Elena warned. "And if something goes wrong, call me immediately." At work, Elena found it impossible to concentrate. Her colleague, Dr. Rivera, kept asking if she was feeling okay, and Elena had to make up stories about having a cold. How could she explain that she was worried about the alien living in her house? During lunch break, her phone buzzed with a text. "Elena, I am watching a movie about dancing. Why do humans move their bodies to music? It seems like magic." Elena smiled, typing back, "It's how we express feelings when words aren't enough." Another text. "I want to try it. Will you teach me tonight?" That evening, Elena came home to find Lyra had cooked dinner again. This time it was pasta that somehow tasted like it was made by an Italian grandmother, even though Lyra had never been to Italy or met a grandmother. "How do you do that?" Elena asked, taking another bite. "I think about what would make you happiest after a long day," Lyra said simply. "Food is just ingredients until you add love." After dinner, Elena put on music and tried to teach Lyra how humans danced. It was magical watching the alien move. Lyra seemed to hear rhythms that Elena couldn't detect, swaying to melodies within melodies. Her movements were like water flowing, like wind through trees. "You're a natural," Elena laughed, spinning Lyra around the living room. "This is wonderful," Lyra said, her eyes bright with joy. "On my world, we share emotions directly, but this is sharing feelings through movement. It's like poetry with your whole body." As the music slowed, they found themselves standing close together, swaying gently. Elena could smell something like starlight in Lyra's hair, could see galaxies reflected in her eyes. For a moment, she forgot that Lyra wasn't human. "Elena," Lyra whispered, "what is this feeling? Like warmth spreading through my chest?" Elena's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "When I look at you, when I hear your voice, something happens inside me that never happened before. It's like having sunlight just for myself." Before Elena could answer, her phone rang. It was her father, calling from across the country. Elena hadn't talked to him since her mother's funeral. Their conversation had been awkward and painful, full of things they couldn't say to each other. "Don't answer it," Elena said automatically. "Why not?" Lyra asked gently. We don't know how to talk to each other anymore. Not since Mom died." Lyra studied Elena's face with those color-shifting eyes. "He is in pain too?" "Probably, but we just make each other feel worse. May I make a suggestion?" Elena nodded. "Answer the phone. But this time, start with your heart instead of your hurt." Something in Lyra's voice made Elena pick up the call. "Hi, Dad. Elena, I was just thinking about you. How are you doing?" Usually Elena would say fine and the conversation would die. But with Lyra's encouraging smile beside her, she tried something different. "I miss her," Elena said simply. "Every day I miss her." There was silence on the other end. Then her father's voice, rough with emotion. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." They talked for an hour, really talked for the first time in months, about memories of Elena's mother, about how empty the house felt without her laugh, about how they were both struggling to figure out how to live without her. After Elena hung up, she found tears on her cheeks. "How did you know that would work?" she asked Lyra. "Because pain shared is pain halved," Lyra said. "And love shared is love doubled. Your people sometimes forget this. but it's still true. Over the following days, Lyra's influence continued to change Elena's life in small but important ways. Elena called her old college friend Rachel, whom she hadn't spoken to in 2 years. She sent a card to her elderly neighbor who had been kind after her mother's death. She even smiled at the grumpy barista at her favorite coffee shop, who surprised her by smiling back. "You're like a catalyst," Elena told Lyra one evening as they cooked together. "You make good things happen just by being here." "No," Lyra said, chopping vegetables with impossible precision. "I just help you remember who you already are. Humans are naturally kind. You just sometimes forget." But Elena noticed that Lyra was changing too. The alien was becoming more individual. She had started expressing preferences, choosing books she liked better than others, picking favorite songs. She laughed at jokes in movies even when Elena didn't find them funny. "You're becoming more human," Elena observed. "Or perhaps you're helping me become more myself," Lyra replied. "On my world, I was part of a group mind. Here, with you, I am learning what it means to be Lyra." Their nightly ritual had evolved too. Now when Lyra asked, "May I sleep beside you tonight?" Elena would answer, "Always." And when Elena sometimes felt scared or sad in the middle of the night, Lyra would sense it and hold her hand until the fears passed. One night, as they lay in the darkness together, Elena asked the question that had been growing in her heart. "What if you didn't have to go back? What do you mean, what if you could stay here with me?" Lyra was quiet for so long that Elena thought she had fallen asleep. Then she spoke, her voice soft and full of wonder. "I have been thinking about this too. In my language, there is no word for what I feel for you. It is not the shared love of my people. It is something entirely new, something that belongs only to us." "What does it feel like?" "Like coming home to a place I never knew I was looking for." Elena felt her heart swell with happiness and hope. But underneath there was also fear, because she knew that eventually Lyra's people would come looking for her, and when they did, everything would change. "Whatever happens," Elena whispered, "I want you to know that meeting you has been the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me. Even though I am not human, especially because you're not human, you've shown me that love isn't about being the same. It's about choosing to understand each other." In the gentle glow of Lyra's presence, Elena fell asleep feeling more hopeful than she had in months. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, they had each other, and that felt like everything she would ever need. 2 weeks had passed since Lyra entered Elena's life, and their perfect bubble of happiness was about to burst. Elena should have known it couldn't last forever, but she had allowed herself to hope. Hope was dangerous when you were hiding the most important secret in human history. It started on a Tuesday morning when Elena's colleague, Dr. Chen, knocked on her office door. He was holding a tablet with strange readings on it, and his face looked worried. "Elena, I need to ask you something," he said, closing the door behind him. "Have you noticed anything unusual in your neighborhood lately? Any strange lights or sounds?" Elena's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. "What do you mean?" "We've been picking up electromagnetic readings that don't match anything in our database. The source seems to be somewhere around your street." He showed her the tablet screen. "Look at these energy patterns. They're unlike anything we've seen before." Elena stared at the readings, her heart pounding. The patterns looked exactly like the gentle glow that surrounded Lyra when she slept. "Maybe it's just interference from power lines." "That's what I thought too. But the readings are getting stronger. And there's something else." Dr. Chen lowered his voice. "Government people have been asking questions. They want to know if our lab has detected any unusual activity." "Government people?" "The kind who don't give their real names. They're setting up some kind of monitoring station about 5 miles from here. They think something crashed in the area during that solar storm 2 weeks ago." Elena felt sick. She managed to finish her workday, but her hands were shaking by the time she got home. She found Lyra in the garden, tending to the tomato plants with supernatural skill. The plants had never looked healthier. "Lyra, we need to talk," Elena said urgently. They sat in the living room and Elena explained what Dr. Chen had told her. Lyra listened without interrupting, but as Elena spoke, the alien's glow began to dim with worry. They are tracking the energy from my ship, Lyra said quietly. I should have thought of this. My people's technology leaves traces in your electromagnetic field. Can you hide it somehow? Not without my ship, and the ship is damaged. Elena, I am so sorry. I never meant to put you in danger. That night, neither of them slept well. Elena lay awake listening to every sound outside, wondering if government agents were already watching her house. Lyra's usual glow was flickering with anxiety, like a candle in the wind. The next morning brought worse news. Lyra woke up gasping, her eyes wide with fear. They found me, she whispered. My people. I felt their minds touch mine across the void. Is that good news? Elena asked, though something in Lyra's expression told her it wasn't. A rescue ship will arrive in 3 days, Lyra said, sitting up in bed. But Elena, there is something I must tell you. Something I should have told you from the beginning. Elena's stomach dropped. What? Lyra got up and walked to the window, her back turned to Elena. My mission was not what I said it was. I was not sent to study your people as equals. I was sent to study you as specimens. What does that mean? My people see humans as interesting, but primitive. Like you might view dolphins or elephants. Intelligent, but not truly equal. The plan was to study you secretly, then make contact when we understood how to manage you. Elena felt like she had been punched. Manage us? They believe humans are too dangerous to be left alone, too violent, too unpredictable. They want to guide your development, control your growth into space, for the good of the galaxy, they say. Elena stood up, anger and hurt flooding through her. So everything you told me was a lie? No. Lyra turned around, tears streaming down her face. Everything I told you about myself was true. Everything I feel for you is true. I didn't tell you everything about why I came here. Get out, Elena said quietly. What? Get out of my house now. Elena, please let me explain. Explain what? That you've been studying me like a lab rat this whole time? That your people want to control humanity? That everything between us was just part of your research? That is not true. Lyra stepped toward her, but Elena backed away. What I feel for you has nothing to do with my mission. You changed everything for me. You made me question everything I believed. How can I believe anything you say now? Lyra looked devastated, her glow fading to almost nothing. Because I am about to betray my own people for you. Elena stopped backing away. What? I will not let them study humanity. I will not let them control your people. When my ship arrives, I will tell them that Earth is too dangerous for contact. I will lie to save you. Why would you do that? Because I love you, Lyra said simply. Not the way my people love, sharing emotions like sunlight. I love you the way humans love, choosing one person above all others. You taught me what that feels like, and now I cannot bear the thought of anyone hurting you. Elena felt her anger cracking. She could see the truth in Lyra's eyes, could hear the pain in her voice. But the hurt was still there, sharp and deep. Your people will know you're lying, won't they? Probably. They will read my thoughts and see what really happened. They will know I fell in love with a human. What will they do to you? I do not know. Exile, perhaps. Or they might try to fix what they see as damage to my mind. Elena sat down heavily on the couch. 3 days. They had 3 days before Lyra's. People came and everything changed forever. There has to be another way, Elena said. What way? I don't know yet, but I'm a scientist, and you understand technology I can't even imagine. If we work together, maybe we can find a solution that doesn't end with you sacrificing yourself for humanity. Lyra sat down beside her, hope flickering in her eyes. You still want to work with me? After what I told you? Elena looked at this beautiful, alien woman who had completely changed her life. Yes, Lyra had lied about her mission. But everything else, the kindness, the gentleness, the way she made Elena feel less alone, all of that was real. I'm still angry, Elena said honestly, and hurt. But I understand why you didn't tell me the truth at first. If our situations were reversed, I probably would have done the same thing. So you forgive me? I'm working on it. Elena reached over and took Lyra's hand. But first, we need to figure out how to save both our worlds. That night, for the first time since they met, Lyra didn't ask her usual question. Instead, she looked at Elena with uncertainty. Do you still want me to sleep beside you tonight? She asked quietly. Elena thought about it. Everything had changed between them in the span of a single day. Trust had been broken and was slowly being rebuilt. The future was more uncertain than ever, but looking at Lyra's face, seeing the fear and love there in equal measure, Elena knew her answer. Yes, she said. We only have 3 days left. I don't want to waste them being apart. As they lay in the darkness together, both knowing it might be one of their last nights, Elena made a decision. She wasn't going to let this story end with Lyra sacrificing herself and humanity losing its freedom. There had to be a third option. She was going to find it. Elena didn't sleep that night. While Lyra rested beside her, glowing softly in the darkness, Elena's mind raced with possibilities. 3 days. She had 3 days to save the woman she loved and protect humanity from an alien takeover. It seemed impossible, but Elena had built her career on solving impossible problems. The next morning, she called in sick to work again. Dr. Chen would be suspicious, but that was the least of her worries now. Lyra, Elena said over breakfast, I need to understand exactly how your people's technology works, and I need to see your ship. Lyra looked surprised. My ship is damaged beyond repair. That is why I cannot hide its energy signature. Maybe not beyond repair. I'm a scientist, remember? I might see something your people missed. They walked to the back of Elena's property, where Lyra led her to a seemingly empty patch of ground near the old oak tree. Lyra placed her hand on the air, and suddenly a section of space shimmered and revealed a sleek crystalline craft about the size of a small car. Camouflage field, Lyra explained. It hides the ship from sight but cannot mask the energy it produces. Elena circled the ship, amazed. It looked like it was grown rather than built, all smooth curves and organic lines. One side was cracked and dark, obviously damaged. The power core is broken, Lyra said, following Elena's gaze. That is what creates the electromagnetic signature your people are detecting. It bleeds energy constantly. But the ship still has some power, right? Otherwise the camouflage wouldn't work. Yes, but not much. Certainly not enough for space travel. Elena studied the damage more carefully. As a scientist, she was used to looking at broken systems and figuring out how they worked. The crack in the ship's side revealed crystalline structures inside that pulsed with faint light. Lyra, what if we didn't fix the ship to leave Earth? What if we fixed it just enough to create a false signal? I do not understand. Your people are coming because they detected your distress call, right? What if we sent them a different kind of signal? One that would make them not want to come. Here? Lyra's eyes widened with understanding. You want to lie to them about Earth. Exactly. We make them think Earth is dangerous to your people. Too dangerous for contact. But how? They will scan the planet when they arrive. They will see that you pose no real threat to us. Elena smiled. That's where human creativity comes in. We don't need to actually make Earth dangerous, we just need to make them think it is. They spent the entire day working on Elena's plan. Using her scientific knowledge and Lyra's understanding of Asthari technology, they began to craft the perfect deception. First, they needed to create false electromagnetic readings that would suggest Earth's magnetic field was unstable and harmful to Asthari physiology. Elena used equipment from her home lab, while Lyra modified parts from her ship to generate the right kind of energy signature. Your people will think that long exposure to Earth's environment causes cellular damage in Asthari, Elena explained. as they worked. It will look like you barely survived your time here. But what about me? They will see that I am healthy. That's the beautiful part. You won't be going back with them. Lyra stopped working and stared at Elena. What do you mean? We're going to fake your death. The plan was risky and complicated, but it was their only chance. When Lyra's people arrived, they would find evidence that their scout had died from exposure to Earth's hostile environment. Elena would create biological samples that suggested Lyra's body had broken down at the cellular level. The ship's computer would be programmed to send a final message warning other Asthari to stay away from Earth. They will mourn me, Lyra said quietly as they prepared the false evidence. I'm sorry. I know this means you can never go home. Elena, look at me. Lyra took Elena's hands in hers. You are my home now. These past weeks with you have been more meaningful than my entire previous life. I choose this. I choose you. On the second day, Elena called Dr. Chen and told him she was feeling better and would be back to work soon. She needed him to think everything was normal. That evening, as they put the finishing touches on their plan, Lyra received another telepathic message from her people. They will arrive tomorrow night, she said, her face pale. Elena, are you certain this will work? No, Elena admitted, but it's the best chance we have. They spent their last night together talking about the future. If their plan worked, Lyra would need a new identity on Earth. Elena had already started working on that, using her connections in the scientific community to create a background for Lyra as a researcher from a remote location. What will you tell people about me? Lyra asked. That you're studying emotional therapy techniques. It's not far from the truth. You've certainly helped me heal. And what will we tell people about us? Elena smiled. That we found each other when we both needed someone most. Also true. The next evening, Elena and Lyra waited in the backyard as the sky grew dark. Elena had sent the false signal hours ago. According to their plan, Lyra's ship had supposedly suffered a catastrophic failure, killing its pilot and making Earth too dangerous for future contact. At exactly 9:47 p.m., the stars above Elena's house began to move. A section of sky shimmered, revealing a ship the size of a city block hanging silently overhead. Elena's heart pounded as she watched smaller craft detach from the main ship and descend toward Earth. They're coming to collect my body and the ship, Lyra whispered. We should hide. They watched from Elena's bedroom window as 3 Asthari in environmental suits examined the crash site. Elena's false evidence was everywhere. Biological samples that suggested cellular breakdown, modified ship logs that told a story of gradual system failure, energy readings that painted Earth as a death trap for Asthari physiology. The aliens worked quickly and efficiently. They gathered the evidence, loaded the damaged ship onto their craft, and within 2 hours, they were gone. The massive ship in the sky vanished as if it had never been there. Elena and Lyra stood in the sudden silence of the backyard, holding each other tightly. It worked, Elena breathed. They actually believed it. My people are thorough, but they are not suspicious by nature, Lyra said. They had no reason to doubt the evidence. As far as they know, I died serving my people, and Earth is too dangerous for contact. How long before they might try again? Generations, if ever. They will mark Earth as a restricted world and focus their attention elsewhere. Elena felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Humanity was safe, at least for now, and Lyra was hers to keep. 6 months later, Elena and Lyra had built a life together that seemed almost normal. Lyra worked as Dr. Lyra Stella, a therapist specializing in emotional healing. Her unusual insights and gentle nature made her incredibly effective at helping people work through trauma and grief. Elena continued her research, but now she had a secret project, documenting everything Lyra had taught her about alien life and preparing humanity for eventual contact with other species. When that day came, Elena wanted her people to be ready to meet their cosmic neighbors as equals, not subjects. Their nightly ritual had evolved one last time. Now they took turns, asking the question that had brought them together. "May I sleep beside you tonight, alien?" Elena asked one evening, smiling as she used Lyra's old word for her. "Always, my beloved human," Lyra replied, pulling Elena close. "Always." As they lay together in the darkness, Elena thought about how much her life had changed. She had started as a lonely scientist studying tiny creatures in impossible places. Now she was part of the most important love story in human history, a love that had saved two worlds and proved that connection could exist across any distance, even the vast emptiness between stars. Outside their window, the stars twinkled peacefully, holding secrets and wonders that Elena and Lyra would spend their lifetime exploring together. The universe was vast and full of possibilities, but they had found something rare and precious in each other. And that was enough.